did you get away with sleeping with 2 men at the same time?
Okay, I stayed 2 hours away from him. It was a 2-hour drive, so it's not like you could really call me before you come, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
the ball in your car, why you can't shoot?
Sit here and act like it's my mama's fault. Because at the end of the day, whether I was 15, whether I was 2, whether I was 2 months, should have been a woman and said, this girl don't need to grow up without a father.
Be honest with me, this my baby. She said no. Can I walk around the neighborhood and ask?
Wait, what?
He actually didn't ask, he just walked off with her.
Somebody says, this my baby. They said, no. Well, hold on. Can I walk around the neighborhood and ask?
Can you believe we're kicking off with this bombshell? Miss Percy opens the case by claiming Mr. Gale is the father of her 26-year-old daughter, Tedra Glenn. She states that she has spent nearly $200,000 raising Tedra without any contribution from Mr. Gale. Miss Percy expresses her belief that Mr. Gale's neglect stems from his fear of upsetting his wife. Buckle up, because things are about to get even more intense.
Percy, you've petitioned the court for a paternity test. You're here to prove that he is the father of your 26-year-old daughter, Tedra Glenn. You claim that you've spent nearly $200,000 to raise your daughter, and he's done nothing. And now you feel like he needs to pay.
Here's where it heats up even more. Mr. Gale admits that he only learned about Tedra possibly being his child when she was 15 years old. He fears that confirming paternity will cause his wife to leave him. During the heated discussion, Miss Percy accuses Mr. Gale's wife of preventing him from being involved in his children's lives. Strap in. The drama escalates from here.
You claim you weren't there for Miss Glenn because you only found out she may be your child when she was 18 years old.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your biggest fear is that your wife will leave you if proven to be the father. Miss Percy.
Yes.
Why do you think Mr. Gale is denying your daughter?
Because of his wife. I don't know why she won't let this man be a man.
Just when you thought it couldn't get more tangled, a discussion of the timeline reveals contradictions in Mr. Gale's story about his relationship and marriage timeline with his wife compared to his relationship with Miss Percy. This includes details about overlapping relationships and secret meetings, highlighting Mr. Gale's dishonesty and evasiveness about his past actions. The next revelation will have you on the edge of your seat.
Were you all in a committed relationship?
It was committed. 7 years.
It was no 7 years.
You were
How
together
long
for
was it?
Like 4 or 5 years.
It was.
When I got with her, she was 16, I was 21.
Okay.
And then when I was 26, I was with my wife.
When did you get married? What was the date that you and Miss Gale got married?
February the 23rd.
Really?
Miss Tedra Glenn, when is your birthday?
October 9th, 1988.
You got married in February of 2002. How long were you together before that?
15 years.
Wait till you hear this twist. Miss Glenn herself takes the initiative to reach out to Mr. Gale for a paternity test when she turns 19. She recounts her lifelong suspicions and desire to confirm her paternity due to their strong resemblance and shared traits with Mr. Gale's acknowledged children. The plot thickens in the next part, so keep watching.
Okay, when I was 19
I didn't even want to be here.
I asked my brother for Mr. Gale's number. When I asked my brother for Mr. Gale's number, I called Mr. Gale, initiated a paternity test. I said, you know, I've been hearing all my life that you've been my dad and I look just like you. So when I called Mr. Gale, I understand that you want to find out who your dad is, but you're gonna have to pay for the paternity test.
You won't believe this bomb drops next. A critical moment occurs when it's revealed that Mr. Gale acknowledged the possibility of Tedra being his daughter during a personal encounter when she was just 2 years old. This admission was made in front of multiple family members, indicating his awareness of his potential paternity long before it became a legal matter. Grab your popcorn. The emotional roller coaster is just getting started.
I'm pregnant and I think it's your child.
No, I didn't.
You didn't tell him a thing.
My daughter was 2. This man came to my house, and my brother kept looking at Tedra. We all kept looking at Tedra like, damn, she looking different. She looking like this man here. He looked at her, and he was like, oh, is that my daughter? And I told him, I didn't say yes, and I did not say no. I told him it's a possibility.
The stakes are higher than ever now. Mrs. Gale, Mr. Gale's wife, addresses the court, revealing the strain the paternity question has put on their marriage. She describes the internal conflict within the family, highlighting the personal stakes and emotional turmoil involved beyond the legal determination of paternity. Fasten your seatbelt, because Tedra's heart-wrenching plea is up next.
I may not have had a father, but I'm somebody. I don't have no problem with her. She's laughing and giggling like and it's not a joke. Your kids grew up with their fathers. I did it.
She did.
Sit here and act like it's my mama's fault. Because at the end of the day, whether I was 15, whether I was 2, whether I was 2 months, should have been a woman and said, this girl don't need to grow up without a father.
This will tug at your heartstrings for sure. Tedra emotionally explains the impact of growing up without a father and her deep desire to establish a relationship with Mr. Gale, regardless of the past conflicts between her mother and Mrs. Gale. She stresses the importance of family connections and her longing for paternal recognition. The climax of this courtroom drama is right around the corner.
One, I grew up all my life without a dad. I've had a stepfather. He's been there through ups and downs, through thick and thin. It's just like, when I see him, it's like I see me. And this is the honest to God truth. And then I don't know if it's a self-conscious thing of me hearing everybody say, oh, you look just like Mr. Gale. Oh, you and Ernest. And I don't know where I came from besides my mom. My mom always told me, I'm your mama and your daddy, regardless.
I was
The moment we've all been waiting for. The judge, after hearing all parties, decides to proceed to the paternity test results, marking a climactic turn in the court session. The anticipation builds as all involved await the resolution of a decades-long paternity question. Get ready for the verdict. It's a real doozy.
I've heard enough. We're not going anywhere. We're not getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere.
This is the point I've been waiting.
Miss Percy, I am gonna go to the results now. I think it's time. Now, just to be clear, you said during that time you had been intimate with 2 men, and one has already been tested, proved that he was
wasn't
not
father. Yeah.
Miss Glenn's father.
Yes.
Here comes the jaw-dropping finale. The paternity test results are revealed.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Gale, you are not her father.
Hear me, boo. Holler at your girl. Let's roll.
What you talking?
No problem.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
You glad?
Can you believe this opening? Miss Cates steps up to bat, swinging with a story about a white lie that threw the whole paternity issue into the air. She claims the defendant, Mr. G, would make an awesome dad once the DNA speaks its truth, banking on his solid character amidst their current turmoil. Brace yourself, the plot thickens.
Cates, you opened your case today because a white lie you told resulted in the defendant denying your 2-year-old son, Messiah. You know the defendant is a good man, but he'll be a better father once the results are revealed.
Here's where it gets juicy. The courtroom dives into the backstory of how Miss Cates and Mr. G first crossed paths at a bar, lighting up sparks right off the bat. That same night, things escalated quickly, setting the stage for today's drama. The story heats up, so stay tuned.
So take me to the night you met Mr. G.
I was at the bar. We met through a mutual friend, and we just hit it off. When I seen him, I just thought that he was the most handsomest guy I ever seen. I don't know this word, but.
And so how soon after you met at the club did you start a sexual relationship?
That same night.
So did you start to develop feelings for her?
Of course.
You won't see this twist coming, as Mr. G spills the beans about their rocky romance. He suspects Miss Cates of playing the field thanks to some incriminating texts and calls. Feeling used for his rising fame, he suspects she's after more than just love. Hold tight, it's about to get even wilder.
And you say you were getting to know her and you really liked her.
Yeah, I really liked it. We vibe, you know what I'm saying? We click. It was like I say, it was here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
she was feeling you the way you were feeling her, and you all had a connection, which meant you all weren't with other people.
yes, correct.
And then you say you start to see signs.
Yes. We'll be kicking it, but then, phone start ringing, and I just keep seeing this, and I'm like, yo, why you ain't, you know what I'm saying, getting your phone?
Wait till you hear this bombshell. Miss Cates drops a major truth bomb by admitting to juggling more than one man while seeing Mr. G. This confession throws a massive wrench into the works regarding who Messiah's daddy might be. The next piece of the puzzle is just around the corner.
Mr. G, Miss Cates says she knows without a shadow of a doubt that you are her child's father. However, she says she was intimate with somebody else. Is that who you think?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
So how did you get away with sleeping with 2 men at the same time?
Okay, I stayed 2 hours away from him. It was a 2-hour drive, so it's not like you could really call me before you come, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, the ball in your cup, why you can't shoot?
This part is a real doozy. The court pokes into the messy details of Miss Cates' overlapping love interests. Mr. G questions everything from her loyalty to her methods of protection during their fling, hinting at deep-seated trust issues. Fasten your seatbelts. We're not done yet.
So Messiah's 2 years old now. What kind of relationship do you have with him, Mr. G?
I mean, it's all right relationship. Sometimes it's like, we here, you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
most of the times it just be like, I saw you, what's up? And he just be like, that's the type of looks he give me sometimes.
he's
you know
a
what I'm saying?
baby.
Well, he probably, though, he
He's just a
senses.
child.
No, he senses Mr.
That
G's
ain't the daddy.
And for the grand finale, nobody saw this coming.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. G, you are not the father.
Told you so.
I'm sorry, Mr. G.
Can you believe he just threw that shade? Ms. Martin opens her case, accusing Mr. Dampier of being an absolute ice king when it comes to their daughter Amia, firmly insisting that he is indeed her father. Mr. Dampier claps back with accusations, claiming Ms. Martin's love life is busier than a Black Friday sale, making it impossible for him to be the father. This sets the stage for a fiery dispute over paternity, really turning up the heat on their already sizzling, troubled relationship. Buckle up, because this soap opera is just getting started.
Ms. Martin, you say your ex, Mr. Dampier, is a
cruel and petty little man who refuses to fully accept that he is the father of your 4-year-old daughter, Amaya. Mr. Damphier's callous indifference towards your daughter has gone on for far too long, and you intend to prove paternity today. You say Miss Martin was a serial cheater, evidence that proves Miss Martin was stepping out on you.
Next up on this wild ride, Ms. Martin brings out a video testimony of their daughter Amia, who spills the tea on feeling neglected by Mr. Dampier. Mr. Dampier, not taking this lying down, defends his actions by blaming Amia's behavior, which he believes is less than angelic. The judge steps in, pointing out that Mr. Dampier's fatherly doubts might be clouding his judgment here. Hold on to your popcorn. It's about to get even crunchier.
Did a video testimony of how she feels.
You did?
Yeah.
And you submitted that to the court?
I did.
Let's take a look.
Dad is mean because he always makes me sad.
How does that make you feel?
He always makes me sad. I'm mad because my dad always makes me sad.
That's awful.
Yeah.
And that's what she repeats to you over and over again.
Yeah, and then I tell him, like, you need to change your attitude towards her and treat her like she's yours.
This next bit is juicier than a reality TV show. Mr. Dampier throws the book at Ms. Martin, claiming her endless texting with a roster of men is proof enough of her playing the field, which stokes the fire of his paternity doubts. Ms. Martin throws it right back, exposing Mr. Dampier's own side gigs in romance, escalating their war of words and painting a picture of a mutual distrust and accusations buffet. You won't believe the twist coming up next.
I feel I'm not the father. Amber's always messaging guys, text guys all the time. I feel I'm not the father. I mean,
You are her father, and you know it. She looks just like you. We started out as friends, and then we eventually became serious. And through our relationship, I discovered he wasn't on it. He was texting other females. He was talking to other females. He had 6 other girlfriends at the time.
And you thought it couldn't get more scandalous. The court dives into some spicy text messages from Ms. Martin to another dude, which Mr. Dampier uses to hammer home his claim of her cheating ways. Ms. Martin insists it was all talk, no action, putting a spin on the tale that thickens the plot around her fidelity and the question of Amia's daddy. Just when you think you've seen it all, wait for the next bombshell.
You found messages. Other man says, come pull up and sit on my face. I want blank blank for breakfast. Ms. Martin says, where you at? Mom, same house? Other man says, yup, so you coming? Ms. Martin says, yup, on the way, be there in 20. What's that emoji down there?
No, see, that was just conversation. I've never cheated on him.
Gear up, because this is a doozy. Judge Lake whips out a conception calculator, crunching dates like a math whiz to line up Amia's conception timeline with Ms. Martin's steamy texts. This timing turns the heat up on the grill of suspicion, placing the texts smack dab in the baby-making window. Fasten your seatbelts. The next reveal is a real jaw-dropper.
Well, let's figure out if it is the same time. Let me get my conception calculator. When was Amaya born?
2015.
October 8th,
2015.
2015. Then we'll press calculate. Date of intercourse, January 7th, January 22nd, 2015. So if we go back to the text message exchange, the dates on those, the first set is January 3rd.
Prepare for the grand finale. DNA test results land like a mic drop.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Dampier, you are the father.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Amber.
Buckle up, because here we go. The show kicks off with Mrs. McClung desperately trying to convince her now husband that he is indeed the biological father of their adorable yet contentious 4-year-old daughter, Dazia. She's laying it all out there, claiming the paternity kerfuffle is wreaking havoc on their marriage vibes, and she's banking on today's verdict to glue back the pieces. Mr. McClung looks bewildered, having been out of the loop about Dazia for the first 2 years of her life. He's itching to find out if he's daddy or just the dude. And just when you think it can't get more dramatic, hold on to your popcorn.
Are here to prove to your now husband that he is the biological father for your old daughter, Desire. You claim this paternity issue has fractured your marriage and you need today's result to repair the break in your family. You say you had no knowledge of Desire for the first 2 years of her life, and now that you are married, Mrs. McClung is desperate to prove you are the father.
You're not ready for this next bit. Mrs. McClung drops a truth bomb that initially she had told Mr. McClung that he wasn't the father due to their then casual, let's keep it chill relationship status at conception time. Cue the gasps and the oh no she didn'ts from the crowd. As they unpack their on-again, off-again fling, it's clear these two have more issues than a magazine rack. What comes next is straight out of a soap opera, so keep your eyes peeled.
The year we've been married, we've had our ups and downs in the beginning. We got over that. Now the paternity continued issue, it's brought up often. Is she mine, is she not mine? I admit I did tell him at first she wasn't his.
Oh, so that part. That never goes over well.
Right, but in the beginning, we were just friends with benefits around the time of, we weren't serious. It was an on and off thing between me and Chris.
And just when you think you've got a handle on things, there's a plot twist. Mr. McClung reminisces about their brief but fiery romantic redux that allegedly led to the pregnancy. After a 2-week love marathon, he bailed for a job opportunity and vanished for 2 years, leaving Mrs. McClung to solo the mom gig. As Mr. McClung spills the beans, the audience can't help but lean in. Get ready, because the courtroom's about to turn into a circus.
Yeah, we was messing around when we first started seeing each other. We was just like friends with benefits. We weren't in a serious relationship. We weren't really together. While she talking, I just slid over next to her, and one thing led to another. So the conversation stopped after that, and it was action.
There was a break in between that. Me and Chris started messing around again a few months later, and that's around the time I got pregnant was when we started messing around again. Chris left and went to go do whatever it is he do.
Grab your detective hats, folks. The court's attention shifts to a calendar Mrs. McClung brought that's color-coded like a Christmas tree, highlighting their intensive cuddle sessions. She points to a 2-week span labeled the Sex Fest with Mr. McClung, contrasted sharply by a singular rendezvous with another man. As she lays out the timeline, everyone's doing mental math. But wait, there's more chaos to unravel.
So you submitted a calendar to the court.
Yes, Your Honor.
That outlines sexual activity during the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please step up to the monitor.
This is the 2 weeks me and Chris was together, strong every night, like for 2 weeks.
So the green is the Sex Fest.
Right.
With Chris.
Right. September.
That's in August.
Right. This is August. This is me and Chris. September 5th, had sex with someone else one time.
Just when you think you've seen everything, after a 2-year hiatus, Mr. McClung makes a grand re-entry into Mrs. McClung and Dazia's life. Despite earlier assurances that he wasn't the father, this unexpected meetup rekindles new paternity questions. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. What's next? You guessed it, more jaw-dropping revelations.
When I got back in town, my cousin invited me over, and she said, Tori's and the baby outside. At this time, I want to know if she's mine, so I could be in her life. So I go to the car. I say, can I see the baby? I picked the baby up. I asked her, I say, be honest with me, this my baby? She said, no. Can I walk around the neighborhood and ask?
Wait, what?
He actually didn't ask, he just walked off with her.
Somebody says, this my baby. They said, no. Well, hold on, can I walk around the neighborhood and ask?
Fasten your seatbelts. It's about to get bumpy. Upon Mr. McClung's return, Mrs. McClung admits she used the old "you're not the father" line as a defense mechanism, scared of him dipping out like a ghost in the night. Their heart-to-heart reveals layers of emotional turmoil and protective instincts. But just as you think they might find some common ground, the plot thickens. Stay tuned. The roller coaster is not over yet.
We were talking. He was like, oh, he wants to know for sure that that's his daughter. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand that with everything that's done happened. I told him then, Chris, if you're that serious about it, get a DNA test.
So now in that moment, what happens, Mr. McClung? Do you immediately try to find a way to get a DNA test?
Yes, Your Honor. Me and my cousin got to talking. We got to calling places.
If you thought it couldn't get crazier, think again. Enter the expert witness to chat about Dazia's overbite, something Mrs. McClung swears connects her to Mr. McClung genetically. The expert dishes out facts with a sprinkle of maybes and possiblies, stirring up the genetic pot. As the expert testimony unfolds, everyone's second-guessing their guesses. Brace yourselves. The truth bomb is about to drop.
Hi, Dr. Heavenly.
Hello, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ms. McClung has presented evidence that she read overbites were a genetic. Is that hereditary?
It can be, yes, it can be. It's a recessive trait, just like hair or nails or anything can be a genetic trait.
So can they be attributed to any other factor?
Absolutely. It could be tongue thrusting, thumb, or just sucking on a bottle too long would cause an overbite.
The moment of truth. No, really, this time we mean it. DNA results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. McClung, you are not the father.